What's going on? Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Kane, CEO. And if you haven't seen the previous videos that I've uploaded about Activision, Call of Duty, and how they use illegal tactics and botting to manipulate your gameplay, make sure you tune into the video up here or the video at the end where you can click it and follow to the next. With that being said, make sure you understand that this video is for educational purposes. I quit playing Call of Duty because of things like this. And then to find out that my reasoning was valid because of what I seen from these videos, I want you guys to see the same thing. So just in case there's individuals like myself who just want a genuine gameplay, now you see why you can't and why it's so frustrating.
So, you think that each match you play in Black Ops 6 doesn't already have a predetermined outcome that's designed to engage you more? Well, you're in for a real treat. Activision gave a live presentation that specifically addressed the systems and algorithms they use in the background in order to drive and personalize player engagement, and that's exactly what the presentation is called. Consider this a crash course in how Call of Duty's matchmaking algorithm is rigged. This presentation happened back in 2019, which was the year where the game's matchmaking and the entire way the game felt suddenly shifted. And now, through some digging, we finally have some answers. Call of Duty 100% measures player engagement and uses that measurement within the matchmaking to rig the game to drive player engagement. This information is incredibly complex, but bear with me, because I'm going to break it down in a way that even the most casual of gamers can understand what exactly is manipulating you within Call of Duty. Once you understand some of the science behind machine learning, you'll truly get how this game is not as fair as it's cracked up to be, and you'll also feel like that one movie hacker that knows everything about computers. This is a comprehensive guide, using Activision's own published information about Call of Duty, about how the algorithm measures your engagement, runs simulations, and manipulates you into whatever state it wants. Run these clips from the presentation.
What is the best path for me to send a user? What we use is Monte Carlo tree search. Monte Carlo tree search really helps us with that because we don't have to come up with like a player model. Like we don't have to come and say, here's how the player is going to behave, here's how players think. And this is designed for a big search space. You guys are probably thinking, oh, you guys have like so many different paths, so many different states. A Monte Carlo tree search really can deal with that. Here's a quick review.
See, when you see this right here and you compile it with the previous videos that I told you to go watch earlier, you will understand. You will fully understand how they're using illegal tactics and using illegal botting to target you. I can't make this stuff up, man. This is wild.
How Monte Carlo tree search works. So we have those 4 distinct phases: selection, expansion, simulation, backpropagation. So in selection, you're in a state, and we're going to look ahead and see where do you want to send this user to. So this is the path that we're navigating. Some paths are better than other paths, and so we're going to explore only the good paths. Eventually going to reach a state that you don't know much about it. There's a leaf node, and that's where you're going to have the expansion and simulation comes in, because you want to know what happens when I do something in the leaf node. Now, you're going to propagate a +1, a -1, you're going to propagate a signal that next time you're in that situation, they need to choose, you're in this state again, you need to choose a message, you know that you should explore this path or not. Now, look on the backpropagation side, you see that one side of the tree is being explored more than the other side of the tree. This is by design because remember that we don't want to explore every single part of the tree. It's just not feasible. So we're only looking for promising areas of the graph.
Basically, these clips both describe one thing: a system that firstly decides what state it wants to put you in, and second, it runs simulations and tests different paths in order to do so. Firstly, I'll point out that because they're simulating games before they're played, this automatically allows us to deduce that this game is not as fair as it's cracked up to be. If matches are pre-simulated and the result of that simulation is analyzed, that guarantees there's more than just skill matching going on. They're trying to read how the match will make you react. Let me break this down. This graph is called a Monte Carlo tree search, or MCTS. Consider it a way to model tons of different potential future outcomes for making a decision, but you can't physically test those decisions, so you must simulate them in all of the outcomes that result, and the outcomes that then result from those outcomes, and so forth. Things can get pretty large. Think of it as a hypothetical flowchart that a computer or AI can use to learn. And MCTS starts at the root node at the very top, where every other node originates from, and the nodes are the circles. These lines are called branches. Each branch represents a decision made to reach the next node. In typical cases, a tree won't expand forever. Rather, the computer system using this tree will have a certain objective and use these different nodes to path out the most optimal way to reach the desired node. In the case of Call of Duty, it's the desired player engagement state. state. And in order to reach that state, the algorithm must first make certain decisions to bring players along the best and most efficient path to that state. You may have heard him say leaf node. A leaf node is where the Monte Carlo tree search, or MCTS, stops. After the tree stops, the next step is simulation, which essentially just predicts the result of making a certain decision after the leaf node that we cannot know for certain. The more simulations that are run, the more accurate the tree becomes. In this case, they're simulating a full match of Call of Duty. For example, consider an MCTS for a game of chess. You start out with the first couple moves, and there are tons of possible moves. However, before you make a decision, let's say you question what will happen 5 turns after this one choice. Well, what will happen is multiple nodes will be created once the simulation takes place. If you move one of your pieces, the opponent can move any of their pieces anywhere. So say that creates multiple nodes. From there, you can make another move and your opponent makes a move, which then creates a huge tree of potential outcomes. What machine learning models try to do is to find the best possible outcome in most likely scenario and how to react regardless of the tree. For example, if you had a Monte Carlo tree search for every single possible game of chess that could be played that was flawless and accounted for every single possible combination of moves, you'd basically have an unbeatable flowchart for how to win at chess every single time. This is kind of just a visualization of the human brain trying to
And that's crazy to think about. This whole time, when you think you're playing a genuine game, they have a system in place and set up just for you to fail.
predict something. When we make a choice, someone else can make a huge variety of choices, and it's sometimes predictable and sometimes unpredictable. Any good competitor would know how to anticipate multiple different outcomes and know how to react to it. This is essentially how machine learning models learn how to simulate and predict outcomes within a certain system. Knowing what you know now, we can now apply this to Call of Duty, as this is the exact context the guy explaining the tree is talking about. He's speaking about how machine learning models, which is probably the AI given this is 6 years ago, adapt to and predict your player state and learn how to bring you along the best possible path to keep you engaged. What I find most interesting about this presentation is that most of the time, the guy speaks about the system mostly excludes the part about the game rigging matches, and more so just talks about different advertising messages, quote unquote, like trying out this new content, being flashed this skin in the shop, or getting a direct message from the game. However, this made me think. Firstly, receiving a verbal message or an advertisement doesn't tie directly to player engagement at all. Being told to buy a skin or to try something wouldn't directly stimulate a player's engagement in the game. It wouldn't want to make them play more if the game says, hey, buy this skin or try this out. What drives player engagement and interest is positive experiences within the actual gameplay. But what we can see in this graph is a piece of information that he's excluding, and that is the fact that it literally says right here that matches are simulated before they happen in order to predict the state that it will put you in. And then the algorithm tosses you what it deems necessary to bring you along this path. A simulated game is played. So we start with the root node, which is your current player state. Then these branches are the different decisions the algorithm makes, whether it's a good game, a bad game, an advertisement, a certain skin being visible, whatever it could possibly be. Remember, they do have patents for engagement systems and systems to drive microtransactions. For example, they might put you in a match with a player with a certain skin that you constantly see, or they may match you with a player that uses a weapon you like to use, but they have a Mastercraft blueprint of that weapon that you don't own. There are a lot of methods that Activision uses to subtly advertise to you, but it's not just that. It's also the fact that games have certain outcomes and results that dictate how you feel after that match is played. The algorithm tries to predict what state you could be put in because you're exposed to the decision made by the AI. The reason the trees are this small is because it doesn't explore every possible outcome. It explores only the most promising outcomes. Once a simulation is run and the most likely outcome is a desirable player state, it back propagates to the root state, which basically means that it defines the path that the system wants to take and then executes following this path. Now, we don't know if each branch of this graph is each game result. We don't know if this branch is one kill or one death. We can speculate, but we can't know for certain what the branches actually represent. However, seeing as games are simulated, it's probably the outcome of each match. But we do know that Call of Duty has AI systems running in the background that predict and simulate what our player state will be in order to engage us, and simulates games before they happen, which means that they rig the game based on engagement and simulate what is best for our engagement.
We're not even playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty is playing us. We are literally part of a fucking simulation. That's wild. I'm good. I'm good. OT me, and give me some Fortnite. Give me a shot of OT, a cup of OT, a shaker of OT. Give me some Fortnite. Cause Call of Duty is bullshit.
Which means if you're looking for competitive integrity or a legitimate experience, COD is not your game. Additionally, this guy giving the presentation mentions that they use the history of other players and how they turned out after being in that specific state in order to better predict how you're going to turn out. So if something doesn't work with somebody else, they'll try something different with you. Everybody is a researchable data point that improves the algorithm over time. You are improving someone else's experience through the algorithm measuring you. And I say improving lightly. It's more like rigging and keeping you engaged artificially. Let's not also forget that Activision has a patent called Methods and Systems for Continuing to Execute a Simulation.
And this is what I was talking about in the previous videos. So make sure you go to those videos so you can find out specifically what this is about.
After processing resources go offline, which once again suggests they're using your computer's resources to simulate matches, which goes directly hand in hand with this match simulation they're talking about in this presentation. Using network devices, which we can assume are people's devices with COD installed, a match is simulated with NPCs, but they also have a patent that details training NPCs that are indistinguishable from human beings. Now, if we assemble those puzzle pieces, could there be an AI that plays just like you that they're using to simulate the outcomes of potential matches before they're played? Just the fact that it says games are simulated is enough to raise suspicion. If they weren't reading engagement, which they are, and tracking results, which they are, they wouldn't need to. But because they've admitted that game simulations are run, that means that each outcome in each match is heavily contemplated by the algorithm whether or not it's an effective tool for player engagement. And by that logic, the matchmaking must be rigged. For example, before a lobby is created, could the algorithm be putting all of the AI versions of everyone in the lobby together, simulating the game result, and then determining what the outcome is without the match ever being played to further expand the MCTS about your player state? Is that part of the reason why matchmaking takes so long? I'm not saying they do it because it's patented, but it is undeniable that
before he even asked that question, I was just saying, like, is that why they have us in the lobbies for so long? Is that why matchmaking takes forever? That's crazy.
Games are simulated before they happen in order to predict player state, and that is scary stuff, especially if you just want a real gaming experience and not some rigged casino that is designed to suck money out of you and data out of you. I just have a sneaking feeling that even though this presentation revealed a lot, it wasn't revealing every shady little thing that they're doing behind the scenes. In the most ironic fashion possible, I've asked ChatGPT and AI how a multiplayer PvP shooter might utilize a Monte Carlo tree search in order to drive player engagement, and the answers it gave me were frighteningly similar to theories we have about COD. The two most notable purposes for this kind of machine learning is firstly, advanced AI opponents, or bots that feel real, which is literally a one-to-one of this patent, and second, adjusting difficulty for competitive mode, or dynamic difficulty adjustment, or DDA, which is basically just skill-based damage, rigged spawns, etc. Anything to make the game tougher to win for players that are performing better than others. This perfectly resembles a patent about manipulating in-game parameters in order to balance out matches we nicknamed Team Coop. If you want to know more about Team Coop, watch the video I'll flag in the corner. And when I asked ChatGPT how DDA could be effective, guess what it brings up? Skill-based damage. Or how about environmental adjustments? Perhaps like this clip right here where the game blocks a Semtex with a giant plane?
Right. And that's like when I be...
Now, I'm not claiming with 100% certainty that this game is manipulated.
Like, I always used to blame myself whenever I throw my grenade and I catch myself with it, and I'm like, nah, I'm good at the grenade. Like, I'm good at the throwing, like, but all of a sudden I miss these things. I'm good at it. I throw a grenade and I end up killing myself with it. Knowing damn well I would never do that. Like, I went through and got everything all ready to go, be it, you know what I'm saying, headed towards a nuke. Now the game will hear me keep saying, I want a nuke, so it keeps getting me closer to the nuke, but then it keeps pulling some bullshit to where it feel like, I don't know, man.
manipulated in real time, but I am claiming that the matchmaking is definitely rigged. I just believe there's enough evidence to go around that the real-time gameplay is also rigged, so I'm gonna bring that up in the process. That is another puzzle piece to how their matchmaking works. Sure, skill is measured too, and that's incredibly obvious given how every match of Black Ops 6 plays like everyone is competing for $1 million prize pool, but there is something far more nasty under the surface, and that is the measurement of player engagement and the simulation of matches before they even happen to predict your player state and to rig the game based on that prediction. And the predictive AI just keeps getting better with time because you and everyone else in the player base is just a data.
Is that why when you report some people for hacking, they don't get banned? You get no notification because they're not even real people and they technically aren't hacking. It's Activision. They're not going to tell them themselves.
Point. I'm Prime Pete. Stay safe out there. Do your research and take it easy.
But make sure you sub to his channel. If you're on YouTube or anywhere on social media, make sure you find him, Prime Pete. But I'm KCL. I'm out of here, man. This has been crazy. That being said, shout out to my partner OT, OT Energy. If you haven't tried some, make sure you do because it's the most amazing thing you'll find. Scientifically, the most amazing thing you'll find as far as energy supplements. I'm out of here.